What are we doing here?
We are going to upgrade our video rack because we're going to get into doing more and more live streaming. But in order to do that, I actually need to take apart all the stuff we built and redo it. Here's what I got. I have 2 switchers. I have HyperDecks, and actually I have another, let's see, where are they? Got another 4 HyperDecks in these boxes. I got a bunch of extra decimators, and you can see I have a bunch laid out here. What else? I have this switcher router hub. Basically what this will do is give me 40 inputs and give me 40 outputs, and I can send any input to any output. So that guy's gonna go in the rack too. I have a bunch of cables here. I have a bunch more shorties like this here. All of these cables out right now was part of the existing system, and I'm hoping to reduce the amount of cables and decimators and things like that by building this new rack. I have used drills to put these guys in, and I have regretted almost every time I've done that because I was lazy and I wanted to use a drill instead of do this by hand. But then I ended up stripping the screws, and yes, you can do it without stripping the screws. But then I went to go take it out, however many years later, and I was kicking myself for stripping the screw and making my life difficult later. A little worried putting this on a truck and having it bounce around and things like that. The reason I'm putting it on its back is because it lets me take any rack mountable product and just place it here, and I can put a couple of them here, right? And then I can, move them around and see, okay, I want this guy placed here, I want this here. It's just gonna let me place everything. Smart Video Hub 40x40. This guy, pretty heavy for its size. You can see here I have buttons for everything on the front, so I can actually do all of the switching from this box. No computer or iPad or anything needed in order to use it, although the iPad and the computer make life easy. On the back, it's just a bunch of SDI inputs and outputs. The way they have this one set up is all of the inputs are here, all of the outputs are here. Then they give you a reference in and out as well. That's for things like syncing time codes and syncing everything together, so it makes editing and post easier. Was I too lazy to go get the table, which would have taken me maybe all of 15 seconds? Yes. All right, so just mounted these guys in. In here, there's probably the 2 most important units is the switcher itself, which does all the transitions, overlays, lower thirds, things like that. That's this guy here. And then the router, which everything is going to come in and out of. All of my inputs will come into here, into the switcher. The switcher will come out, back into the router, and then out to my TVs. So everything's going to pass through pretty much these 2 units here. Down here are all my recorders. I shouldn't need to touch them much, so that's why they're kind of low. This is my live streaming deck. I just kind of always want to see what is outputting via my live stream, which is why it's kind of toward the top. So that's why I've kind of ordered them in this way. That's all my connections. This is a standard rack depth, so I don't have to go too far to reach it. All of my cables will stay inside of this rack, at least all of the ones here. And actually, I'm gonna try to leave as much as I can wired all the time, so that I show up at an event or something, I should open the back of this and almost everything is wired here and ready to go. These guys are called decimators. They convert HDMI to SDI or vice versa, SDI to HDMI. They're also a scaler, up-down converter, things like that. So I'm gonna take 4 of these guys and I'm gonna actually mount them in here somewhere. I've yet to decide. I could just put a shelf here. I could just leave them all up there. But I'm going to actually mount these and permanently install them somewhere in this rack. Honestly, wouldn't be awful doing it here. I don't love it though. Probably do them somewhere like this. Okay, 4 of these guys to live in the rack. And that way I can take a computer, I can put it in to my router here, and then out of my router into my switcher. The reason I want these guys is they can actually do 2 conversions at the same time. Meaning, if you look up the switcher, it has 4 HDMI inputs. Well, if I only use SDI, I'm going to lose 4 of the inputs on my switcher. So what I can do is I can take an HDMI laptop, go into here, out of here, into my router, out of my router, back into this guy, convert to SDI output, or sorry, HDMI output, SDI to HDMI, HDMI output right into here. So I'm actually getting 2 conversions out of this one box. So I just opened up one of these boxes and I finally realized what this plate was for. This plate is to mount one of these guys vertically, like, let's see, like this. So it's to mount one of these guys vertically to a rack, or even on the inside of the rack, I guess. So that actually is going to help a lot. I'm debating currently whether I want to mount these somehow inside and drill them into the case here, mount them here, mount them back. Alright, so lessons that I'm currently learning. I wish I would have planned a little better and thought about maybe even mounted these guys and then ordered cables, but I was trying to do it all pretty quickly. So I just ordered a couple cables. I ordered a couple different lengths, 6 foot, 3 foots, and 1.5 foots, and a couple different colors. What I didn't do and what I should have done is I should have ordered more 3 foots, which is this green guy, more of them, which I have more greens coming. I wish I would have ordered more 3 foots in different colors instead of blue 3 footers, which would have been better for this situation. I'm not too concerned with cable managing it right now. Honestly, if I get a rack in here, like a drawer, it's not going to be too bad. Until I test it, plug everything in. I don't want to cable manage everything and then one of these cables is bad and I have to redo all my cable management. So I think right now I'm just going to run my Ethernet cables and plug it all in and see what happens. See if it all turns on as planned. Alright, so I've placed the rack here in the setup that I'm going to use to test it all out and stress test everything. Right now we're setting up for a little kind of studio that we're building, so it's super messy here. But the rack is done and it's all powered, it all works. The network switch is hooked up to everything, so the computer that I have over here can actually switch inputs and things like that. So yeah, so next step is going to be get all the sources hooked up to it and kind of go from there, get everything switching, labeled, and just put it into action.